Well, it's good to see you again here on Political Stew live from the IPJ studios in Lagos, Nigeria. And we're excited to have our guest with us today to talk about something that has been trending in Nigeria, but for him, it's not a new thing because he's warned not once, not twice. He's been speaking about this. Today, we have Professor Dr. Philip Njemanze, who's a medical doctor and academician of the International Academy of Astronautics. Yes, the UNESCO body of space research. He's a world-acclaimed neuroscientist who was one of the U.S. NASA space scientists that studied the brain in space in the decade of the brain. He's also the chairman of Chidikon Medical Center in Nigeria's southeast region of Owerri, Imo State. Is currently the chairman of the Global Prolife Alliance, GPA. Dr. Njemanze, good to see you, and thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You know, well, Nigeria is in the news, and this is not the best of story. But before we situate that, let's start talking about some of the key things which Nigerians have been asking. Pro-life, organ harvesting, IVF, so many things. But GMO, these are things that are not new to you because you've been in a fight to ensuring that our country, Nigeria, and the world is free from all of this, perhaps because you believe that there's no gain in these things. Let's start by asking you to help us here talk about organ harvesting. If we can first of all start by placing a definition, more so like an understanding of what organ harvesting is about.
Yeah. I like to use the terminology organ poaching. And that's exactly what it is. Poaching of organs of people. That means obtaining organs from people without consent and against medical indication. So this is what the crime is. And unfortunately for Nigeria, it was legitimized in Nigeria in 2014 when the Nigerian National Assembly actually passed the National Health Act 2014. In the National Health Act, in Section 51, they inserted collection of organs from people or poaching of organs from people without consent, because it expressly says that if you should arrive at any hospital in its Section 48 in an emergency, that your organ can be obtained or taken from you without consent. And what is a medical emergency? Medical emergency is everything you say it is. Is either the doctor is declaring that it's an emergency from the medical point of view, or the patient is declaring that it's an emergency. So in almost all conditions, anybody since 2014 who comes into a Nigerian hospital can have his organ poached from him without consent or her. So this is the most primitive barbaric law ever passed in the history of humanity. No country has ever, not even Nazi Germany, advocated such a thing, even for the Jews. But they were brought before the International Tribunal. So actually, if we do things properly, the entire National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria committed high treason by passing that law, legitimizes taking of organs of Nigerians without poaching of organs without consent. And this is an international crime. And Nigeria is actually a danger zone, not just for Nigeria. It's also for foreigners who come into this country because they are subject to our law. So if even a British diplomat that finds himself in the Nigerian hospital, his organ can be poached without his consent. So it's
No, no,
not just
no,
for Nigeria.
Dr. Njemanze, let me cut you here. Apologies for
Yeah,
butting in. Let's try to understand something. The National Health Act of 2014, looking at
yeah.
that particular section which you highlighted, you say, uh, gives right to anyone's organ to be so poached. Uh, do you know the intent of this? Was this deliberately done, or was it done in error?
No, it was deliberately done because I headed the committee for the entire private doctors in the country, and also the entire doctors, both the Catholic doctors and actually the general NMA committee, for looking into this art and then offering a proper critique of the art. So I was present at the public hearing, the Senate public hearing, chaired by Okowa, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, and present on that day was also Ike Ekwerenmadu, the former deputy Senate president, and
Mm.
also Dr. Ngige, the minister for labor then when he was in the Senate, was also present. And I pointed out all these flaws in the law in both in the written comment and actually the public hearing itself to the hearing of thousands of Nigerians and they themselves in the Senate. So they are very much aware of these statutes. Now, but there was, and as I keep saying, there was a consolidated effort of the international criminal cartel for organ traffickers who were pushing this law. And unfortunately, the United States, many people from the United States played a very, very bad role in influencing the passage of this law.
Wait,
And because
wait a minute. You mean there was an outside influence to ensuring that this law is passed?
exactly, and in fact, we got that even from President Goodluck Jonathan, who we pressurized from our own point of view as we could do, not to sign the law after its passage. And I remember hearing him in an interview say that he was pressurized even from President Obama of the United States to sign that law, sign that into law. So what happened to the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is that their whole organs were sold to the international community for poaching. This has never happened in the history of humanity.
The thing here is,
And to this day,
sorry, I think I lost you for a bit. Apologies. Let me throw this in quickly
yeah,
here because
okay, yeah,
in
it's a,
2014,
yeah,
yes, 2014, uh, Ifeanyi Okowa was in the Senate, and if I remember clearly, he's a medical doctor. You also mentioned Dr. Chris Ngige. These are your colleagues. So one would have thought that these people in the medical profession
yeah.
who were lucky to have also at the Senate would have an understanding of some of the key things you were pointing us to at that point in time.
Yes, they did. And I reminded Ifeanyi Okowa directly before everybody. So there were thousands, hundreds of people, or thousands of people there at the public hearing. That as a medical doctor, he should have understood that this was a clear present danger. He then replied to me that I should look at Section 48, that it actually exempts all the organs. But I now underscore to him that if you look at that section, he said, except in an emergency. So if somebody was to say that he has an emergency, or the doctor was to declare that the person had an emergency, then the right to consent is waived. It is impossible. The fact that there is an emergency does not mean that you will not ask the person, oh, do we take your organ or not? And what
Hmm.
emergency could that be? That you would now go ahead to carry out an operation to take out somebody's organ without consent.
Because Section 48 clearly, as you stated, looking at the Act here, talks 1 and 2, talks about consent, that the consent clause may be waived for medical investigations and treatment in emergency cases. So, for instance, we've seen, we'll come back to situate this to some of the concerns people already have about some people who are in dire need of organ transplant. Does this fall within that when we talk about this Section 48B?
No, there is no medical condition in which consent can be waived. It's not possible. The only thing you can do, if the person concerned who is supposed to give the consent is not conscious to give that consent, then the next of kin is the one to give the consent. So that under no circumstance in medicine that you waive consent. So I don't take the point Ifeanyi Okowa was making, and it was very, very clear that he was making an unjustifiable point. And I told him very clearly to the hearing of thousands of Nigerians. So the truth of the matter is that actually the problem is even much bigger than that.
Tell us more about this problem, because I have a copy of the letter you wrote in 2020. That was just around COVID. Let us in on this letter.
The entire
content of the letter.
An organ.
Well, we seem to be having
that they happen to be
well, there's a freeze, there's a glitch in
they have closed the war with a fire. Yeah, the supply of organs from the eastern part, that is from India, Nepal, and all these other countries, was shut down by the Indians and some of those countries. So the West needed a supply of organs. And then going forward, they wanted to create also a supply for eggs, human ovarian eggs, for cloning. So because of this problem, which is actually business-wise worth 30 trillion US dollars. That is 1/3 of world economy. That's how big the business is. So what they did was that the entire billionaires of the Western countries and most of the G7 countries joined to execute this project. Was their best bet. So they now set up a whole clandestine operation to make sure that they created a permanent supply of organs. That's why they funded the National Health Act, and then they funded also the law on the creation of avenues to get in GMOs, genetically modified organisms. And what was that all about? The plan was that let us capture Nigeria's food security. And the food basket of Nigeria was in the northeast of Nigeria, so-called Boko Haram insurgency, which was
seem to be. Well, I would like to apologize to this one. Well, we just, I think we seem to be having a glitch in the connection, coming from Professor Njemanze. But I can hear you now. I think you're back. But now, quickly here, if you can, let me throw this in. You have also linked this. Now, we're talking about health. And now you have also linked it to security, which is more like national security, talking about genetically
Exactly.
modified, yes, talking about the GMOs, talking about cloning. You know, we'll try as much as possible to break it down, and that's the essence of this conversation, so that Nigerians and those who are not medical, professionals can also understand what you're driving at. Before we come back to your letter.
Yes. Really, basically, what they did was that they wanted to capture the food security, so they had to create this so-called insurgency, and the usual Blackwater private army. They trained guerrillas in Burkina Faso, threw them through the Bakassi, and brought them into Nigeria to create an insurgency. The reason is they want to kill the farmers who are seed growers, the natural seed growers, so they can come in and replace them with so-called improved seeds, which are GMOs. So the Nigerians, once they capture the food security, once they plant, once they drive in 6 million farmers into the IDP camps and kill them, will now depend on their seeds, their GMO seeds, to have food. Now, what they want to achieve with that is, if you come for seed, the GMO seeds, they will ask you to donate, tell your wife to donate her eggs in place of the seeds. Egg for food program. That is the aim of this. So the ovarian eggs now will be used for cloning, because they need 100 million eggs, ovarian eggs, every year in order to carry out the program. And that will come from 10 million Nigerian women. So this is what is fueling the entire insurgency in Nigeria. It has nothing to do with Fulani headsmen or some
Oh, well, it looks like the glitch, and not again. We'll bear with this, because this is an interesting conversation we're having
of Islamic
with.
terrorism. Because I ask people one question: ask yourself, how can, yeah, so how can you have an insurgency whereby you have 85
What a night. Well, Professor Njemanze, if you can hear me, the connection is really awful, but we do hope it gets better. And if you have any other device, I'll just say, if you have any other device connected to this particular device, perhaps if you can unplug that so that you can have an unshared internet connection, so that we can have this fine conversation. We'll have a lot of people listening to us across the world, across all three platforms, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And it is hoped that we can have a seamless conversation. For Professor Njemanze, he's actually written a few letters, and he's talked about IVF, he's talked about GMO,
of
and he's
the
also
Islamic terrorism.
that's a delayed and there's a glitch. Professor Njemanze, now that you're back, I can see you. I know you. I can see the movement. We seem to be. I hope your internet, I hope, is not being shared by any other device. If it is, maybe we can unplug this so that we can just stay on this and have this fine conversation. Yes. If there are other devices connected to it, you can get them unplugged.
Yes.
We can. Okay. Because
yes.
Yes, if you have them unplugged, then we can just continue with that. You know, the thing here is that organ tissue transplants and experiments. Let's talk more about that, because we'll come back to security. your letter of 2020. Why did you write that letter, and who was it addressed to? Now again.
Hear you now. I can hear you.
Oh, great, great.
I can hear you.
Now we're digging into the letter you wrote in 2020, and tell us, who did you address the letter to? Another glitch there, and it looks like Dr. Njemanze is really a bad moment looking at the connectivity, and I do hope that we can get this. Perhaps maybe even if you log out and log back in, we can bring you back to the studios, and perhaps it might be better. And even if he can't even hear me because it's frozen. Yeah, he's out. So let's hope and wish that he comes back. If you just joined us, you're watching our Political Stew here live on 3 platforms: YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. And our conversation hovers around questions around organ harvesting and other health matters. And our guest is Professor Dr. Philip Njemanze, who's warned. I can see him back. Let's see if we can bring him back to the studio quickly. Yes, he's back in the studio. Professor Njemanze, I can see the background, but I can't see your face yet on the cameras. But, Professor Njemanze is an International Academy of Astronautics, yes, which is the UNESCO highest body for space research. And he's an expert in what he's talking about. And that is why when he spoke in 2014, at that point in time, a lot of people thought that his fellow doctors in the Senate at that point in time, Dr. Ngige and Dr. Ifeanyi, should have listened to him and looked very carefully to his points. And Dr. Njemanze has also said that it is as a result of that act, that is why what we've seen, concerning former Deputy Senate President Sen Ekwerenmadu is happening. So he's almost backed by laws, Dr. Njemanze, correct me if I'm wrong, backed by Nigerian laws to do what he did until he got to UK. Dr. Njemanze, are you there?
Actually, it's just unfortunate what happened to him, and it's as a result. I am here.
Oh,
I can hear you. Okay. So it's basically as a result of negligence. Usually, for any transplant to take place, the first thing is to acknowledge the right of the donor, and the right of the donor is expressed in a written consent form. So that must be first. And that is what the law, we were telling Ekwerenmadu and Okowa to insert into the law, and that is unequivocal. It has to be very, very clear that you expressly say, well, I want to be a donor, and I understand the consequences, but I want to do that out of my own free will without any financial inducement or being compelled by any condition. So this was a basic thing that was required in the law, and we wanted them to insert that into the National Health Act. Now, after he had done that, then there is the medical part. The transplant authority in Nigeria would be able to certify that that person can even be a donor by the status of health. And then that the tissue of the donor and the recipient can be matched. So these were basic things to be done and inserted in the Nigerian law.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So if that had been inserted, the matching of the organ of the donor and the recipient would have been done here in Nigeria even before taking flight abroad.
Exactly. That is a prerequisite because you can't declare somebody a donor when the tissue will not even match. So that would have been done, and it's a simple test we call HLA typing. So it's not something very sophisticated, and it could have been done in Nigeria. So, and then of course the proper consent form would have been signed, and it is that transplant authority that will now recommend the operation to be done. If they see they can't do that operation here in Nigeria, to the US for or to the UK, and say, well, look, we want you to carry out this because we have done this, and this according to our laws are okay. Then he shouldn't have had all the problems he's having right now, because that would have been very, very legitimate.
So the the laws are still as it is. No one has listened to you even after you wrote. Let's go back to the review. What are those things you want taken out and inputted in that act?
First and foremost, the paramount thing, first, actually, we stated also in the comment that the issue of transplantation has no place in the National Health Act. It's usually done as a separate law, because the National Health Act is a system regulation law. That is, it actually states the framework of operation of health in general. It is not
I think we have a freeze again, and well, perhaps we hope this can actually, uh, Dr. Njemanze. Oh, well, I think Dr. Njemanze
Okay, I can
is
hear you right now. Yeah, I can hear you. So,
you're back.
yeah, yeah, I'm back now. So, what we are saying is that it has to be a separate law, and the law must acknowledge the right of the donor, because you cannot give what you don't own. In the National Health Act now, they are actually making the hospital administration has the discretion to say who will receive an organ or not. This is totally nonsensical. How can a doctor or an administrator be saying that somebody will donate his organ or not? This is totally nonsense. So it shouldn't be that way. So it has to be that the donor himself or herself will say, I want to donate my organ. The medical authority is to certify the state of health and the tissue compatibility. And that's the only role the administration plays. Then the recipient, of course, is on the receiving side to, of course, acknowledge and receive the organ. And if this has to be done transparently, without monetary inducement, actually what they did in the National Health Act is that while it is illegal to sell your organ directly, but the hospital can sell the organ on the internet in Nigeria. That is, the hospital can sell the organ because the internet has no national borders. So, and is not restricted under the law. So the hospital can actually trade your organ, which they obtain free from the person, but they can sell it on the for money on the internet. And that should never have been allowed, because what it will mean is that you will turn all the hospitals into organ poaching places. So this is a terrible crime against the Nigerian people, and I keep on saying the Senate of 2014 has full responsibility for this crime, and I think we will continue to unfold what is packed in this, because until we get to the point the Attorney General of the Federation will now look into these issues, because I sent this matter to the Federal High Court, and they did everything to frustrate the court. But it is also clear that the Attorney General is supposed to have brought up this matter against the members of the Senate and the House who actually were behind the passage of this law, because this is high treason. And we shouldn't just sweep it under the carpet, because whatever has happened to Ekwerenmadu, we don't know how it's going to play out. It's going to happen to even more people.
It's going to happen to even more people. And quickly, you said something about IVF clinics in Nigeria. Quickly, you said something about IVF clinics in Nigeria being under sponsorship of foreign. I hope you can hear me. I think, apologies, it looks like I'm talking over you, but I think.
Yes.
Okay, Professor Njemanze, apologies. I think the network is bad. So sometimes it looks like I thought you're done and I talk over you. So apologies. So quickly here, Professor Njemanze, you said something about IVF clinics in Nigeria being under sponsorship of some, international organizations. Tell us more about that.
Yes, really, it's unfortunate, because the IVF clinics, most of the IVF clinics here are run by Nordica, the Danish company. This is an international IVF network, and Nigeria is the largest exporter of human ovarian eggs. Eggs are harvested in these IVF clinics and sold in the international market. And
I think we lost you. I lost you there, Professor Njemanze. You said Nigeria is the greatest exporter of what?
Of human ovarian eggs in the world. And this is happening under our nose, because Nordica, the Danish company, and a number of other foreign IVF clinics. And what is happening is they are not harvested. They are poached, taken, because they can collect up to 10 eggs and use 2 eggs to try for their fertility, whatever. And they are also taking the eggs of young women. And when they collect these eggs, they do a serial injection of hormones, which can cause these women infertility at some point. It could cause them the loss of their kidney. It could cause liver failure 2, 3 years, 4 years down the road. And these girls are paid maybe 200,000 naira for donating their so-called donation of their eggs, only to suffer kidney failure some 3, 4 years down the road. This should have been clamped down by the authorities in Nigeria and stop this whole thing, that we are actually sacrificing our people to make sure we please the West. And this is high treason. And I think what the government should do, the federal government should do, is to immediately clamp down and close down most of these IVF clinics, because they are just egg harvesting places all across the country, set up by proxy by this international network. In fact, Nordica was mentioned in the European Union report of 2006 as one of the major networks sponsoring this poaching of ovarian eggs in Nigeria.
And what's the medical profession or what medical body doing about that?
It's unfortunate, because most of the actors of this IVF conglomerate are actually also at the helm of affairs of controlling the medical associations and the medical different organizations within Nigeria. Unfortunately, that is so. And I think it is high time for this country, for the authority in this country to rise up to the occasion on behalf of the Nigerian people and act in the good interest of medical ethics. And this is really an unfortunate thing, which is happening to us and by our own people. And this is sad.
And when we talk about these harvesters or these donors, does it also affect deceased? Is there anything called deceased donors?
The issue, they have so much abundance of the living donors that they don't even need the disease
Wow.
donors. Because I also are hearing from what we see that most of the so-called unknown gunmen and all the activities of so-called headsmen are just people who are going about kidnapping people for their organs and harvesting these organs. So for that to happen, you can know that the machinery that is behind that is quite enormous. So we really need a situation whereby we really need proactive governance to take care of what is going on now, because the Nigerian people are totally left very vulnerable.
So now let's round off. Let's close on your letter because you've painted a whole lot here. You've said something that has to do with agriculture, and you also have alluded to the fact that it's all in the fight, to ensure that GMO is entrenched. And one wonders if that's why some of the farmers are being slaughtered in Nigeria's northeast. Uh, have you reached out to anyone in authority, by alerting them of the dangers of what exactly is happening? I can't believe this frozen again. Well, I think once it comes back, we'll try as much as possible to round off. It looks like it's a bad network day, um, at his location. But again, you got to listen and watch and recap some of the key things he said, irrespective of the bad internet connection. Joining us live from his location. Professor Philip Njemanze has said quite a lot, talking about national security here in the country, which the government should also, be concerned about. He talks about Boko Haram. He talks about the insurgency in Nigeria's northeast region. He's also been talking about IVF clinics, that are, littered around the country. He's also talked about organs being poached. He refused to use the word being harvested. He said these are poached, and if you know what that means, it's much more serious than you would think. And to think that he also alerted the people of the dangers of these as far back in 2014, specifically the Senate, the National Assembly at that point in time, where his colleague medical professionals were also in that assembly, and nothing was done to take out those clauses. It's a shame. I think I can see Professor Njemanze back again, and Professor Njemanze, apologies. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
I'd like to also say thank to everyone for being patient. It's one of those days. Quickly, we're closing. I'm looking at what you're concerned. Boko Haram, Nigeria's northeast. We've seen lately how many farmers have been slaughtered in their numbers. Trying to make sense in your argument, in your submission rather, that look, they're trying to do away with these farmers so that they can introduce GMOs. If you truly do have your facts on these, have you reached the government to help save the nation by alerting them on the real dangers of what's happening, in the country?
Yes, of course, I have. On a number of occasions, I have actually written to President Buhari on a number of occasions and the entire Federal Executive Council, and not just them, but we have reached out to bishop conferences, the Islamic associations. So we have reached out far and wide. The problem is that there are many operatives of these networks that are implanted in government in key positions, and they try to do everything to frustrate the key decision makers from actually realizing what is causing the problem. Now, you are making an argument that there is Fulani herdsmen, there is Islamic terrorism. But look at the data from 2015 to 2018, according to the data submitted to the U.S. Congress by different NGOs. About 37,500 people were killed by Boko Haram and these insurgents. Out of them, 32,000 are Muslims. 5,500 are Christians. So should it be Islamic terrorism that will wipe out 85% of the victims who are already Muslims? Is it possible? Of course it's nonsensical. And why is then killing mostly seed growers? The natural seed growers, these are the people being killed in their communities and their farms being burnt and their stores being burnt. So the only people who are killing them are the GMO seed producers. And that list is very short because the main GMO seed producer in this country is Monsanto. And who owns Monsanto? The majority shareholder of Monsanto is Bill Gates. And that's why we said Bill Gates has a lot of questions to answer in Nigeria. And, it's something that he has to answer because the only way they could track the farmers to kill them is using their cell phones. These cell phones were issued to them as electronic wallets by the former Minister of Agriculture, Akinwumi Adesina, who was a director at Bill Gates owned Agra, before he became minister. And Bill Gates was the one who issued a grant for the 14 million cell phones. So basically, you issue the farmers cell phones and calling it electronic wallet, and you use it to know their location at every point in time. So when these farmers die, why wouldn't we say that you were the one who killed them? Because you're the only one who really knows where they are at any given point in time. And this is the point we have been making to the federal government, to the National Security Advisor, and telling them, go to the NCC and see the register of all the farmers who we are giving these agri loans. And how come that these farmers are disappearing and dying? So it must be that whoever issued them those cell phones has their GPS coordinates to the nearest meter. And these are the people killing them. So the issue is that the U.S. has a lot to answer about this. The U.S. intelligence services must be able to dictate, and the biggest has a lot to answer personally because he issued these grants. So if he's not the one, then he has to come forth and provide us who else knows the GPS locations of these farmers, which he issued the cell phones. And he was the eminent person, presidential advisor on agriculture. So he's answerable to the Nigerian people. He was a member of the Federal Executive Council, which is illegal, but he was the federal, under Goodluck Jonathan. Bill Gates was the eminent person, special advisor on agriculture. So he has, by virtue of his government position given to him under Goodluck Jonathan, has a lot of questions to answer. How come under your watch that people started disappearing? and dying from insurgents because you issued those cell phones. And that is one thing the Nigerian people
and
should bring up.
Did you get any response from the government?
Well, the government has been playing. I think there is a lot of fear, in naivety, basically not wanting to believe the facts before them. I think they are very much aware that of the complicity of very, very highly placed people, both in Nigeria and abroad, in this matter. And unfortunately, the Western countries have a lot to answer to, because these matters are in their national interest. That means they need organs, because that will cut down the healthcare costs. Most of the people they are maintaining today on dialysis or some kind of life support, they get their organs from Nigeria. It's something that the Ekweremadu's case came out, but most of the organ harvesting has been going on unabated, with people coming here to kidnap people and say they are the baby factories. There was a time we had this epidemic in Imo State of baby factories under the former governor. But these baby factories are only there to get the babies so that they can now take these babies abroad and go and harvest their organs and use it for transplant for babies in the UK, United States, and everywhere else who have a So babies who have a hole in the heart in the West, instead of going through the operation, they can now obtain babies with the appropriate, with good heart from Nigeria, and then use it to transplant to their own children. So this is an unfortunate, yes, and this really shows that we have an ungoverned space.
But quickly here, which is safer, or which is cheaper, or, to go under the knife, the operation, and a transplant, because we understand that in the West they have the technology to quickly, pronto, fix any hole in the heart.
Well, it's not as simple as I mentioned the hole in the heart just because people know that, but there are many abnormalities of the heart, transpositions, which cannot be solved by even the surgery. So you really need a transplant organ. And we have made our people available for this, that people can now come here, create a baby factory, and then get babies, take them abroad for their organs, and we die.
And these are proven.
Sorry?
These are proven. These are proven facts.
Yes, they are proven facts, because that's why they exist. And none of those babies, for example, the baby factories discovered in Imo State during the last administration, there was no, despite all the effort, they could not find where those babies were. The police could not find where the babies were. They just disappeared. And then we also here in Imo State during that time, we had the 27 hospitals that we are set up, 16 surgeons coming from India, who were all transplant surgeons to work in these hospitals. So you tell me what 16 transplant surgeons will be doing in hospitals in Imo State, So we also had aircraft system, aircraft right here in Imo that could fly 6 to 8 hours non-stop. So is it flying to Kaduna or to Lagos? So really, the organ trafficking cartel is well established in Nigeria and functioning. It's just that the government has not taken steps to stop this, and we feel that this shows that there is a lot of paucity in governance in Nigeria. These are high security issues. And then look at what is happening to the whole country. We are here accusing our Muslim brothers, our Fulani brothers. It's easier to say it's Fulani herdsmen. It's Islamic terrorism, when they are the victims of the violence. And that's the truth. The statistics, when you look at the statistics, it is the Muslims who are dying in great numbers. And now everybody is accusing them and saying that they are doing this and that. So the truth of the matter is that the government has to be more proactive and come out with these facts so we can indict these people. They are not invincible. These people are foreigners. These people are multi-billionaires, we know, but they are indictable. Even in the country, we can call them into this country and put them under the law. If their governments refuse to release them, then by reciprocity, if Nigerians commit crimes, we will refuse to repatriate them to the United States or elsewhere. So we can do that. And the truth of the matter is that we have to be proactive.
Let me bring in this quickly before we go, and it has to do with
Yes.
what we've seen. Once upon a time, we hardly hear about people coming down, with some ailments that will require them having transplants, especially of their kidneys. What exactly do you think is happening?
Yes, unfortunately, with the young girls, if you go to the dialysis centers, you see a lot of young girls now losing their kidney. A very small percentage is due to unnecessary cosmetology. But most times, most of these girls, if you ask them, they have donated their eggs. They are in the universities, they went with friends and they donated their eggs to IVF clinics. And after that, serial injections that are done, hormonal injections, it actually results to kidney failure or liver failure. And this is one thing driving up the people having kidney failures in the country, unfortunately so. And also, it's not really helping matters that we are not actually monitoring more effectively this fake drug issue, because most times either the fake native drugs or the orthodox drugs that are fake, they end up causing renal failures.
Dr. Njemanze, I want to thank you for your time, and I do hope we can have such conversations, from time to time, because, this very last one hits home. People should know of whatever they're doing. They make it look so simple. You just get injected, you donate your egg. It's just an egg. Just donate it, make some money, and you'll be fine. And the telltale signs are already out there. And now I'm happy that you spoke about it. I'm hoping that we should have this again and again. Thank you for your time, for being a pro-life activist, for giving your all to humanity. We must thank you. And we do hope that governments across the continent, Africa especially, will listen to you and many others who are with you in this fight to protecting and preserving humankind. Thank you, Professor Njemanze.
Thank you for having me.
And as a wrap on the show, for those who missed out, you can get to watch the playback here on our platform here on YouTube. I'm Sulaiman. Many thanks for watching. Bye-bye.